Hi, everybody. Erica here from In the Company of Cards with my partner in crime, Lena from
Yes, hello everybody. And we've got Deb, she's tuned in from the Hunter Valley.
Great.
And welcome to you all.
Yes, welcome to you all, and welcome to those of you who watch this in replay, because it will be in replay both on my channel here and also on Lena's channel. So either one. So nice to see everybody. And I just sort of I put my reading glasses on so I could see the feed. And I see that the subject of the moment, which we will address at the top of the show, is Graham Plattner, who has just given a very long speech. I listened to it, stepping down because, as my friend Aaron, the hairstylist, says, he had no choice. Aaron, I saw your comment about feeling conflicted, that there are two sets of standards, one for the felon's kind and one for us good people. He had no choice. It's very dicey, Lena, the way this whole thing happened. First of all, nothing like the 11th hour for the accusation to be, thrown out there. But I will say this, and I said this to you before we went live. Black people, we have an expression. We say, don't start none, won't be none, which is to say, if where there's smoke, there's fire would be another way of putting it. In other words, if Lena, you or I were accused of something like this, we wouldn't be sweating. We'd be cool as a cucumber. Well, you'd be cold. I'd be cool as a cucumber in my air conditioning, because we know we are not capable of any such a thing. I suspect that Graham Plattner is politically a good guy. I think he's probably a good friend. He's a good husband to his wife. I don't know. But what I do know also is that he has a drinking problem, that apparently the drinking problem comes complete with blackouts, which means he does things that he doesn't remember. And these are the things that we're talking about here. And my thing is, no matter what a good guy you are and how good your politics is, don't start none, won't be none. Why are you running for office? Because now they've put Maine in this position. They've put the Democrats in this position of having to...
Because it was going to win.
He was going to win. He was going to win. That's right. So now they have a decision to make. I mean, do they resurrect Janet Mills? And the problem with Janet Mills, aside from that she's old, no shade, I'm old too, that's okay. But, she's like not that much older than the felon. I think she's a year younger than the felon. But it's not just that she's old. She is pretty sort of run-of-the-mill standard Democrat, and Maine seems to be looking for something more progressive. So do they go with her? She got 20% of the vote, even though she stepped down. Her name couldn't be taken off the ballot in time. She still got 20% of the vote. Do they go with her, or do they try to find dig a progressive up from somewhere? What do they do?
Yeah, and I don't know the answer. So if you guys live in Maine or know people in Maine, what's the feeling on the ground? I'd imagine a lot of people are quite devastated.
They are.
Because Susan Collins has been part of the furniture as long as I've been involved in American politics, going back decades. So finally, he was this rough diamond, cut through it all, was so going to do it. I think because Maine's one of the smallest states in terms of population, they would be feeling this hard right now.
They are feeling it hard. But, you have a tattoo, a Nazi tattoo, which you didn't know what it was. I mean, I have a tattoo, but I certainly wasn't going to let somebody put ink on me without knowing what the meaning of it was. Was that during a blackout? Now, I will say last night, I was so pleased with Heather Cox Richardson. Some people are not pleased. There was a lot of buzz, national buzz.
What did you say? Because she does amazing work.
She's amazing. She's a national treasure, and she should win our highest award when this is all over. She said, that is not my skill set. And it's not her skill set.
Mm-hmm.
Right? She is amazing doing what she's doing. She is not being modest there. She's just being realistic. So when she does an explainer every night, and she said, I was going to talk about this or that, but I see what everybody wants me to talk about. So let me just say this up front. And she is not an option. So take her off the table.
Okay. I'll just respond to that, and then there's some in the comments about Troy Jackson. Yes, I think it would be a mistake for her to go into another league, because her actual gift, her ability, her hard-won skill set is not short sound bites and snappy handshakes and ribbon snipping. It's not her habitus, as we say in sociology. So I'm glad she was clear about that.
She was. I mean, she did it very well, the way she explained.
Of course, and by all means, sorry.
I'm sure people were disappointed, but.
Yes, but at the same time, she could still have an advisory role or something, but she's not a natural politician. Main people are saying Troy Jackson, similar to Plattner, but has political experience.
Yes, I've heard of him. So he could be the one. I don't think people want Janet Mills. Mainers, you can tell me.
Look, the geriatric politics, neither of us are spring chickens.
Right.
Right. So it's not ageism per se.
No.
And if you don't actually have dementia and other things, your abstract brain can keep going forever. But I don't know about you. I don't want to have a timetable that looks like meeting followed by this and that and the other. No, let the next gen go for it.
Well, that's it. I mean, they need to have experience. They need to be trained up, and they need to decide what direction they want to take this country when I am dust and not here anymore. It's going to be their country. They have a right to be allowed to step up and be supported in that. So hopefully so they have I think they have 2 weeks to make a decision of what they're going to do. They could hold a primary. They could appoint someone, or they could hold a primary.
Yes, and we'll watch this space. But hopefully this Troy option, it sounds like he's better than Janet Mills.
Right.
Because he hasn't got one foot in the grave, and he still has that working class thing if he's a logger. So let's hope. Oh, goodness gracious.
So that was interesting. Mitch, so I've read on this. I'm sure you have too. I think he is all but dead, which means I think he's on life support. I think that's probably, I think that Elaine, his wife, who the felon has insulted, and Mitch did not stand up for her. So now Mitch is need, and she's nowhere to be found. So she went to China. I suspect it was a long-standing meeting that she had to attend. But I also think, had he been conscious, alive, or compos mentis, I would like to think she would have been by his bedside. I think she thought, well, he's just a corpse in a bed, so let me go.
It could be, but I think you're being very generous. I think he's been in this status basically since, if you're at that age and you're unconscious as he was for that length of time before he was even admitted, that is game over in terms of either radical brain damage or... So I think she was embarrassed into coming back, probably to do the paperwork.
Yeah.
And I think with it, I don't think it was about who can turn the machine off, because I think he has an adult child or two. I don't know. They haven't been mentioned. But I always thought this was a marriage of convenience at its most polite.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, and then I thought it was very interesting that we heard from 3 different people whom I believe were selected. I saw your student, Dave by the Bay or Under the Bay or wherever it is.
Oh, yes.
He did a really
Tarot
good
by the Bay,
Tarot by
yes.
the Bay, yeah. He did a very, very good tarot reading last night. And I was like, I completely concur, which is that he was very generous. He said, I want to know about these three guys. And, did they lie and say they spoke to him? Did they speak to him, but it was an AI generated voice on the phone? Or are they in on it? And he pulled cards, and the cards were very clear. They were in on it. He agreed. He thought what I thought as well, which is that these three guys were conscripted to, pulled in by the party, who said, "Listen, this is the party line. This is what you're going to say. You're going to say
Totally.
You spoke to him for 20 minutes." How did each one speak to him for 20 minutes?
They all spoke to him for exactly 20 minutes, which is fascinating, because if someone's in intensive care in that level of thing,
they don't
chat on for 20 minutes. No. You're either the silent witness, or they're good enough to go to another part of the hospital. You don't have chats of 20 minutes each.
No, now granted, this was phone chats supposedly. Yeah. I don't think that happened. I think that they're holding out, because if they can hold out until August
3rd,
yeah,
or whatever it is,
hold out till August 3rd, then Andy Bashir will not be able to name anyone to the seat.
Yep.
And
that's
the seat stays, it stays McConnell's, which is just empty. So this is really bad. Andy Bashir just wrote a letter to whom? Oh, well, I guess to McConnell's people, or maybe Thune even, and said, we need to hear from him. The people of Kentucky need to hear post haste from him, because he's supposed to be representing them. They need to hear from him. Now, he didn't have to write that letter. He was coerced into writing the letter. Of course, I'm sure he was just as glad to do it, because he would like to be able to name someone. I don't know why it's taking him so long and why he had to be encouraged to do it. But they're gonna try to run out the clock if they can.
Yep. And so that's basically another 2 weeks and a bit. Can they keep up this facade?
Right.
For 2 weeks.
Let's go to the hospital ourselves and sneak in there, see what we can see. That's what somebody needs to do. Just go in there and just, see what you can see. So I guess we'll see where that goes. All right. So that's Mitch. That's Graham. We know that the felon has to pay E. Jean Carroll. We know that the money is held by the court. So all that has to happen is the court officer turns the money over to the felon. The felon apparently can ask for some delay. I can't imagine that the court will say yes. So that was great news to hear that he will lose that money.
So is it going to happen then?
Yeah, he has to hand it over.
The court has the money.
The court has the money.
But he refuses to put his Sharpie signature on it.
Yes, yes, that's right. But I think, here's how it works. He had to turn the money over as a condition of his conviction. So the money is in the account, earmarked to go to her should she have won the case. Well, she won the case. So I don't know that they necessarily need his John Hancock on there.
Yeah, I think there's another perverted twist in this tale, or it'd just be signed over.
This is the cranky, rusty cogs of the law, which always lags behind.
That's a good way of putting it.
What is the right thing to do?
Everything's been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the appeals have been dealt with.
Yeah.
Final decision made.
Yeah.
And I wish her all the best, but
I mean, it's not like she's going shopping with the money. She's already earmarked it for charity.
Yes, bless her.
And she said he's not going to be happy with where it goes. So that's good. So that's great. Speaking of the felon, so he's
that
at
NATO debacle.
Yeah. In Turkey, he's in Turkey, which I think is good because Turkey's quite a long distance away. And I know he didn't wear his, what do you call those circulation stockings that you're supposed to wear when, given he has venous insufficiency, I'm sure he balks at the idea of wearing those or walking around the plane, etc. So I'm sure that the trip there was disorienting and exhausting, as will the trip be at home. The problem is what he's done in between while he was there. Referred to Japan as the Islamic Republic of Japan. What are you talking about?
Yes.
Attacking Spain?
Yes. And Canada and Greenland.
And wants Greenland, and sitting right next to Zelensky, he very hospitably says to the press, do you have a question for Mr. Putin? What are you talking about? It's Zelensky.
I know. If this isn't 25th Amendment stuff, what are they waiting for?
One wonders.
He's just so appalling in the international stage.
But so embarrassing.
The world leaders are not listening anymore. It's like, he's speaking now, la, 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 scroll. You can't even react to it because it's so imbecilic.
Yep.
And destructive and counterproductive. He has nothing to offer the world.
Nothing.
And what's with the plane, Erica?
So the plane, yes.
The plane.
So the plane, Europe. Right. So this is the gift from Qatar. And he's already taken it on a little spin somewhere else. But, this is the plane that will land in his presidential library when he, because there won't be any books in there, just saying.
No.
But he made this announcement that the plane is going to he's not coming home on that plane. No. He's going to come home on the old Air Force One.
The conventional Air Force One.
Right. And the reason is that this Qatari plane is just so amazing, so awe-inspiring that it's going to be flown to several bases in Europe so that the soldiers can see how cool it is. That's not the reason.
No, that is so not the reason. Now, we all said, i.e., the entire public of the world, when the bribe was offered, right, in the form of this plane, they would have it bugged in a very sophisticated way right throughout. It's possible, I'm not saying this is definite, it's possible his people who are Neanderthals have worked out maybe the plane's bugged, right? Like it could have taken them a year and a half to come up with that observation. I wouldn't be surprised.
No, I know. Well, put that together with the fact that he has been stunned and shocked and surprised, and I don't know why, at the days-long, weeks-long, however long it is, funeral, I think it's days-long, funeral for the Ayatollah that he killed and the Ayatollah's family that he killed, including children. And so, of course, there is now they burned him in effigy, the felon, and there is a fatwa out on his life. And so, I mean, it would be convenient to use a Qatari plane that you could just push a button and blow it up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that they're scared of that. And so he's going to be coming on regular old boring Air Force One. And the soldiers will have the thrill of getting to see, probably not get on the plane, probably from a distance, see the Qatari plane in Europe.
Yeah. Well, if it is booby trapped, you wouldn't want to get on the plane.
No, that's right. It's of course anyway. So it's just, I mean, I'm just looking at all the comments, and you all are correct. It is up to the state of Maine. And isn't it interesting how often big, momentous, sort of history-changing events can turn on a single situation or a single person, or in this case, a single group of people? It's very interesting. And here we have little Maine, who are not so little anymore. They have quite big teeth as we look into 2026. I mean 2026 in November.
Yes, yes. So I really, really pray for Maine that someone manifests for you guys. Really,
yes,
I do.
yes. Somebody said, oh, this is my friend Aaron again. Scott Jennings spoke to McConnell, but did Mitch speak back? Well, this is the thing. He was at Thune. I think Thune is another one who said that he'd spoken to him. And so he was asked, well, what did he say? And Thune said, oh, he was talking about the state of affairs and what we're doing in the Senate, and he can't wait to get back to work. First of all, and you referenced this, who knows how long he was unconscious before somebody called the police and said there was an unconscious old guy on the floor. A. B. Unconscious old guy. I am not a paramedic, but I've seen enough TV shows to know that resuscitation is a pretty violent exercise involving the cracking of ribs and things like that. So was he really up to a 20-minute conversation? I mean, how could he even have been up to listening for 20 minutes to somebody talk? It was a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie.
And as Mark says in the comments, I can speak to a rock too.
Exactly.
So I think, yes, they were sitting there talking into space, these 2 or 3 people who have allegedly had conversations,
Okay, so someone is saying, this is back to Mitch, Kentucky doesn't appoint. There'd have to be a special election. August 3rd would be the deadline for candidates to announce.
Yeah,
well,
that's
okay, but why did I hear that Andy Bashir, what's Andy got to do with anything then? I thought he could appoint someone, but I've heard this the second time I've heard that the Kentucky doesn't appoint. I don't know.
Yeah, Kentuckians can let us know, but I know that the date's important. But I understood it as if they can keep this pretense up to after August 3rd, it falls within the 3-month thing to the midterms. Therefore, there can't be a special election.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Somebody said, I believe Elaine Chao went to China to shake hands, which was her way of saying assignment completed. She could end up back in China. She has family there, and bye.
Yep.
All right. So, okay. Now, you know how you all we tend to sort of give a recap of the major issues. There are so many. Oh, yeah. Well, one more major issue. So the felon was asked about the peace accord or whatever, memorandum of understanding.
MOU, yeah.
He's like, yeah, you know what? No, it's not a thing, and I don't want to deal with them. They're bad people. So he's bored, and now this will be the war that never ends. We've been in a few of those.
It's absolutely shocking because none of the significant players throughout this alleged ceasefire, no one was talking in real terms. Iran made it very clear early on, please stop sending real estate agents to these high-level negotiations. That's Kushner and Witkoff.
Right.
And Israel isn't talking to anybody and has no intention of complying with a Western ceasefire, it would seem to me. They have been going ahead. And so countries like India and Pakistan and Qatar have been talking to each other about potential deals, but the main players aren't actually involved.
Right.
So to me, it's not the end of a ceasefire. It's the end of exposure that there wasn't a ceasefire.
That there wasn't a ceasefire. That's right. I remember a viewer asked me, so is this going to be over in like 3 weeks? And I'm like, no, this is way back. And they said, well,
this is going to be the background going forward?
going forward. They said, is it going to extend to 27, maybe 28? I said, it could. I mean, I don't like to be the bearer of bad tidings, but it definitely could. So I don't know. Wait, there was one more thing that just to stay domestic. Well, we're going to be doing domestic stuff here in a minute, but just to be sort of slightly political for one more minute, the preliminary hearings for Tyler Robinson's trial have begun.
Oh, yes.
They are televised. Erica has been there, as has Charlie's parents. It is a railroad job. Who else was there sitting in the gallery? Don Jr. For what?
No.
Yes. Yes. What for what? I'm telling you, this thing is way more complicated than
of course. And yeah, I think he's there going, I'm the president's son, you better get this right, sort of thing.
Yes.
Now he has the concentration span of a caterpillar, right? He would hate this. He got the short straw, if you ask me. I'm only hearing about this now. It's hell for anyone to sit through long court cases.
But he's got no damn business there.
No business there, but he won't be able to sustain that. I think he's gone in that role. He's been sent in. Mm-hmm. But also Erica Kirk herself. I'm putting it out here. Watch for an Erica Kirk lookalike to start turning up as this trial goes on week 2 and 3 and 4 and 6. And she will say to her family, I'm sorry, I'm so busy. I've got to be there for my children.
I don't know. Whatever. I think she quite enjoys the role of grieving widow. I think she likes, patting her eyes with the handkerchief and being seen doing all of that. But I will say
for an hour. But do you really want to do it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week?
Well, I think she's programmed to do it. I think that
is fair enough.
Role. I mean, I think she was his handler. That's what I believe. And this is now her role. Now, I will say what is really interesting about this preliminary trial is that the prosecution is presenting all of this supposed evidence. Problem is, there's supposed to have been a discovery process, which means that the defense also should have had the same evidence.
Access to everything.
Same access, and they have not gotten it. Mm. And they've been told, it's early yet. You don't need that. This is just, we're just at the early stages. That'll come later. The whole thing is the kid's going to get railroaded. They're probably going to give him the ultimate penalty because one of the things that they're doing right now is setting the stage for what they call special circumstances. And if those circumstances are shown, that opens the door for him to get the death penalty. So they are hell-bent on him being the patsy. Meanwhile, there is no evidence that his gun or the substance in his gun, the bullet, made any contact with Charlie's body whatsoever.
And this is one of the many fascinating aspects to this case, in the sense of there's various things happening simultaneously, as I said. One is, and you could be right, it could go all the way to a full railroading of Tyler Robinson. That's the aim of the prosecution. However, the type of legal people that are now delivering high-level cases on behalf of the administration or someone as famous as Charlie Kirk are inadequate and inept. And there's probably an equal chance at this early stage that it could collapse on legal grounds.
Yes.
Failure to produce documents, failure to release discovery, failure to not lose the ballistics report, whatever. There's room for a lot of failures with this particular troop of people.
Well, it's very
It could
interesting.
go that way too.
It could. I will say that I think it is very complicated. I think that there are foreign governments involved. I think there was an exploding microphone involved that Charlie wore. I think a lot of things, and I hope Candace Owens has good security because they're going to come for her because she's uncovering a lot of stuff. So let's get to what we wanted to talk about for the meat of our session.
Yes, we're trying each week to have a huge cultural topic that we can spend some time with.
Yeah. And one of the things that we hoped to do and we intended to do, and I would have racked my brains and tried to do it because Lena, it had been your idea that we now start looking, now that we're past the 4th of July, start being optimistic and looking at possibility. Listen, we have plenty of time to do that. There's 100 and some days. We have time for that. We're not there yet. So where am I going with this? And if somebody, okay, here's a heads up, a warning for any of you who say, what kind of channel is this? It sounds like a Black channel. Okay, it's a Black channel. Lena honorary tonight, because the second half is race is what we're going to talk about. So there is an overarching theme that you proposed, and I think it's definitely worth talking about, especially from an international perspective, because as you say, this is also an Australian argument. But I wanted to contextualize it just with current events. So of late, there has been what, oh my God, what is her name? Lady Day. What was her name? You all help.
Sorry.
I'm having a senior moment. They called her Lady Day. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday wrote a song that is haunting and horrifying. And it's called Strange Fruit. And, fruit, like apples, like oranges, hangs from trees. And it seems that Black people of late have been mistaken for fruit because more than a few of us in the South have been found hanging from trees with the official explanation invariably, inexorably, every single time being suicide. We do not, that's not how, we don't do that. We don't do that. We would never do that. If you were suicidal and you were Black, okay, you're not in your right mind because you're suicidal. I give you that much. But you're never going to be so much out of your right mind that you're going to hang yourself because symbolism. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. We're talking about men. We're talking about women. We're talking about different age groups being found in these little towns hanging from trees, dead. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. But beyond that, a few years ago, and this will get us to the meat of what we want to talk about. A few years ago, there was an incident that, it stayed with me and it stayed with a lot of Black people on social media because it was all over Instagram recently. A few years ago, there was a photograph of a bunch of friends, grown women who were having a sleepover at one of their houses. These were very clearly women of means. You could tell by the house. And they all had their pajamas on and everybody seemed relaxed and calm. I might have even seen a glass of wine or two in somebody's hand. And it looked like it was a fun gathering of friends. There were about 8 of them. Of the 8, every last one of them was white except for one. So they had their sleepover, drink their drinks, eat their snacks, whatever I played with a Ouija board, whatever they did, I don't know. Tarot, who knows? But here's what we do know. The next morning, when everybody got up to have breakfast and coffee and nurse their hangover, why was one of them missing? And why was the missing one found right outside the front door? DEAD, dead, like the ones hanging from trees. She wasn't hanging from a tree, but she was dead at the front door. Nobody knows anything about anything. The police say it was natural causes. No, it wasn't. And there have been nobody's been investigated about anything. Now, this was a few years ago, and it was scary, right? Well, then over the weekend, we had Nolan Wells is his name. So Nolan Wells is a quarter Chinese and 3/4 black, looks black. Lived in Mississippi in this community that looks pretty wealthy, and they lived near a lake area. And so there's a photograph of him with his white friends. I think it's 5 of them this time, maybe 4 white kids and him. He's 18.
Mm.
And they were all in their swim trunks and on the boat. And apparently they took a ride on the boat. And then later in the day or later that night, the boat returned. And I'll tell you who was on the boat. The 4 white friends and the phone of the black friend, who was nowhere to be found. Nobody reported him missing. Nobody called anybody's parents. Nobody called the police, nothing. And they found his dead body on the island that they had sailed to. So it's strange fruit all over. It feels very much like being hunted. It truly feels like being hunted. It's terrifying because not only is it happening, it's not just that it's happening, it's the response to it.
That's right. It's the layers. That's right.
It's like we're making it up, or, we're just all suicidal, but then there's a whole nother layer to this, which is you have Black people on social media blaming his parents, saying, you should know better than to let your child be the only Black one in a white group of friends. Well, he was 18. You're not going to tell your 18-year-old son, what they. I mean, I think that's just ridiculous. But I will say, as somebody who is Black and grew up with Black brothers, of course your parents had the talk with you.
Yes,
how to conduct yourself
early on.
So and you can't. I mean, of course they had the talk with him. Everybody has the talk with their kids. Okay, but that's not the freaky part. The freaky part to me was white people on social media coming on there with advice for Black people. Now, they meant it. It seems like it's being meant, because this is a bunch of people, a bunch of different creators. It doesn't seem to be malicious or anything. No. It seems to be in the spirit of a warning, like not just saying to Black people, don't let your child be the only one in their friend group who is Black. If everybody else is white and they're Black, trouble will ensue. And then there are all these videos. So for example, I saw the video that just made me sick. Black women, hair is such a thing, right? And I mean, for me, I either lock my hair or I chop it off. So for me, it's not a thing. But for a lot of people, it's a huge thing. Very expensive. It's very expensive to keep your hair up. So there's a picture of a bunch of kids. They look like they're late high school age, I would say, and at a pool. And the girl, it's a Black girl, and there's all these white boys. And she's saying, I don't want to go in the water, which is a very typical thing for a Black girl to say if her hair is in a way processed. I don't want to go in the water. They picked her up, I would say very roughly, laughing the whole time. There's horror on her face, and they threw her in the water. I saw another video. It was the same thing, except this time it was a boy, and his friends were his white friends. They were all white, teasing him maliciously and just really cruelly because he couldn't swim. And they kept saying, jump, 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 jump or we'll throw you. And he couldn't swim. I'm just going to say, as a Black parent and grandparent, it is scary out there. It always has been. But it feels very 50s, 60s to me. And the response feels not sufficiently attentive to the problem by people who should be paying attention. Like, oh, I don't know, the police.
Exactly. And this is why things are going backwards. And it's not just a flutter in your maternal gut or something. It's actually real. The genie has been let out of the bottle again in terms from Charlottesville, which was fairly early on, is my sense, thinking back on it. And there was an immediate reaction of,
no.
And then that was normalized.
Yep.
You know, that it was yet another window slammed shut in America's development. America, you could say, is in the state of arrested development, holding the whole unresolved racial issue, and now it is out. You know, people not getting charged for things. Someone said here, back to the original story of this week, I don't know if this has been confirmed, but J Love says 2 of the boys' parents were in law enforcement. One is a judge and one's a cop, of those boys who came back from the island with the phone. Just saying, that isn't confirmed.
Yeah, they come back, they lawyer up. These are small towns. And you know, everybody knows their role.
Yep. And so there's different pressures and atrocities, small town versus big city.
Right.
There are different, you know, areas of high vulnerability.
Yeah.
But these guys now, essentially ICE is operating as the Klan. They're not arresting white overstayers from the UK or Australia or Canada. It's not about the overstaying. How can they be allowed to be masked? These are the guys who wouldn't wear a mask during COVID because they were so precious.
Right.
Mask. There's something fully scary about masked men. That's where the Klan kept their terror and their power for so many decades. It was the anonymity, but not. People knew who was in the Klan. Right?
Oh well, that it's like the photograph of the young woman on the metro, who was surrounded by all of those white nationalists, and people are saying, "Oh, it's a Pulitzer-worthy photograph." And to me, it was reminiscent of the photographs that I saw in the 50s and the 60s. It was sometimes the way that I felt when I had to desegregate a school when I was a little kid. So it was all of that. But I'm just fascinated by the relative lack of, I don't know, what, uproar.
Here's the thing in that sense, like, I think it is an extraordinary photograph as a testament to how American society is in this day and this time and this moment. We can get into the subtleties of the different reactions to it. But nonetheless, but in Australia, they wouldn't be allowed on the train or the bus masked.
I mean, exactly.
Right. So even if I was a 70-year-old white woman and 30 of these guys came down the corridor, that is freakish enough as a vulnerable human to a pack. Once you add in the racial dimension, which is deep and ongoing, it just becomes overwhelming, which is what you're describing, absolutely overwhelming. But why were they allowed to get on public transport masked? Just in itself.
Right.
They would have been very scary unmasked. We're not saying that it would change everything.
I mean, I can think of
it's a deliberate terror tactic.
That's right. I can think of a time when that would not have happened on the DC Metro. right? I mean, it's just that there is this.
Sorry to interrupt, but maybe it's still illegal and they just barge through being intimidated guys. Maybe there still is a thing.
Well, then where's the police?
Where are the police?
The police are among them. As somebody pointed out.
I was going to say it was probably lunchtime for the police.
Well, as somebody pointed out, you don't know. Those could have been undercover cops, all masked. Could have been your kid's teacher. It could have been the grocer that's next door or the mechanic that fixes your car. You don't know. It could be your doctor, your lawyer. You don't know who these people are. So if you want to delve into the intricacies of the photograph itself and people's reaction to it, I'll just refer you to my Substack piece. The paywall is down for that, so everybody can read that. It just went up last night. Because I did have some feelings about it, as I know a lot of people did, and I tried to sort of speak to that. But I bring all of those incidents up because you had messaged me about what we might talk about for our, focus for the hour, which is this thing that is apparently international, because you say it happens in Australia, and it goes something like this. A white person will say, look, I'm a good person. Some of my best friends are Black. You've all heard that one. I never held slaves. I'm not a part of the Klan. I never did anything like that. So why am I having to pay the cost? Why is it my fault just because my skin is white? And you say you've heard the same thing in Australia.
Yes. So the Australian version is, well, I just bought my house from someone else. I didn't take Aboriginal land and I wasn't here 200 years ago. Okay. It's true. No one can, in the easiest of terms, no one can be blamed for where they were born, how they were born, and what colour they were. But I think what this misses, this position, is it's not about feeling bad because white people did this and did that, because that only leads to guilt, which is the most useless emotion in the human repertoire.
I agree.
There is nothing to be gained by feeling guilty about that. What's important to understand is how that translates into ongoing privilege. We talk about white privilege in the chattering classes. I don't think it's talked about much in the real world, but nonetheless, white privilege, which makes people tetchy. And if you're in a trailer park or you're a newly retired white person with a very slim 401k, it doesn't feel like white privilege. So therefore people go, that doesn't apply to me.
Right.
My issue is this. It's invisible to the average white person in the sense it happens, let's say 4 white kids, mid-teens, kicking down a bus stop and doing a bit of graffiti, right? The police will come and they'll call them down and they'll give them a talking to and they'll go, we don't want to see you here again and you go home, and that'll be the end of it, right? 4 Aboriginal kids kicking at a bus stop and doing graffiti will be arrested.
Right.
Then there are the 4 points of difference where white privilege translates into Black oppression. So the Black kids are more likely to be arrested in the first place.
Right.
When they go to court, they're charged differently and with multiple offences.
Right.
Over and above this. So then they've got a record, which is going to impact on them when they go to get a house and get a job. Once they've been to court, they're more likely to get that conviction for sure, and they're more likely to serve a custodial sentence.
Right.
So in other words, 12-year-old Aboriginal kids in the Northern Territory are put into jail for stealing a packet of biscuits from a shop that wouldn't be any more than a finger wave to a white kid.
Right.
Right. So that's where skin color protects or makes you more vulnerable for every waking day of your life.
That's an example. Another example, which might seem more benign, but maybe it's not. About redlining, right? Redlining. So when I was newly married, we wanted to buy a house. So my husband, he dealt with the realtor, and she was lovely, and they had only talked on the phone. And my husband was very dark skinned, but she hadn't seen him. She had only talked to him on the phone. So we are going to meet up with her, and she's going to show us all these houses. So we're really psyched. Well, we get to her office. She takes one look at him. She looks at me. Oh, my hand to God, she said this. Oh, I know we had this list of homes that we were going to look at, but who would have thunk it? They all got spoken for. They've all
just then.
Yeah, just then. But I can show you. And so then she takes us to this neighborhood where everybody was Black and socioeconomically not where we were. That was what she showed us. We ended up buying the house because we bought the house, but it was redlining. Then years later, he's dead, and I want to sell a house because I'm moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. And I said, here's what I see. I've been in this house for 30 years, and I am not trying to put money into it to sell it. I just want to sell it. So I would like to sell to a builder. Realtor says to me that there's no builders. That can't happen. I said, no, I'm sure that it's possible. I see all the houses being built up, or they'll tear it down. They'll put up a big McMansion with just a little yard. They'll build out. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to sell to a builder as is. That's it. Or else I won't sell. And I know, real estate may be a game, but there's no game if there's no asset. And I'm the one who has the asset. So she insisted, no. I had someone white come on the next call with me and do the talking. Do you know, all of a sudden, there was a builder, and that's the builder that I ended up selling it to.
Yeah, amazing.
Or things like, you go to a makeup counter, and I had a friend who didn't believe me, and it's infuriating when people don't believe you. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to be all dressed up, and we're both going to go to the makeup counter. Watch what happens, I said to her. I could have been a block of wood. They completely acted like I wasn't there. But they rolled out the red carpet for. Conversely, when we started to walk around the store, I said, you go that way, I'm going to go this way. They followed who? Not her. Me. And what's enraging, it's not just enraging that it happens. It's enraging that you have to explain it, and then people say they don't believe you until you prove it to them. Why do I have to prove it?
Yes, exactly. And this is why it's so exhausting and aggravating for the Black community to have to live this double game, then being told it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right. And then have other people struggle to believe your stories. And it wears out the soul. So that's why people have to be so strong to do it, because everything is that much harder. Everything
is that much harder, even if you don't take the time to explain, which I don't do anymore, except here on social media. But I mean, in my real life, if I have to explain to you or you don't believe me, then why are you even in? Why are we breathing the same air in the same room?
I know. When I was growing up, Black women if it was a dress shop or something in a country town like this was, would have to wait till the last white customer had left, first of all.
Right.
Then they could go in.
Right.
If they touched a dress, they had to buy it.
Right. And they couldn't buy it and bring it back.
That's full Southern apartheid.
Right.
Right? Now, most Australians would like to think, oh, they were the bad old days, right? But everyone I know of very different Black ethnicities. This is from dark Pacific Islanders, Aboriginal people, African immigrants. And that's another conversation for another day, how people get collectivized. But the same thing. Right. And I just noticed yesterday, there was a little snippet on my feed. Two of the Black experts from Antiques Roadshow, which is a very British.
I think I've seen that show.
Yeah, it's sort of been around for 50 years, and people bring their things in, and an expert on pottery or books or whatever will value it. These guys have been in the antiques world for, neither of them are young. And they both just said, it's only in my mind because it popped in yesterday, we still get followed every time we go into an antique shop to this day, and beautifully dressed or anything. It's not about that. You can. It now, doesn't here's the thing.
Change. And why are we bringing that up? We're bringing that up because of the word that you used, which you're right, it does get people's backs up because of the word privilege. It may not seem like a privilege to be able to walk into a store and not be followed, or to walk into a store and be courteously helped. It may seem like it's not a privilege, but it is because for us, it doesn't happen. And it's not just like you said, it's not back in the olden days, it's now. So when I had I told you this before we came on, that I saw a really good thing on Instagram. It's a conversation between a young Black man and a young white man. And it was about that. It was about why should I have to, I didn't do anything. And so the young Black man said, okay, what if your mom had a car? And it was her car. She really valued it. And two Black people stole the car. Whose car is it? White kid said, my mom's car. Black kid said, yep. And what happens if those two people who stole that car fenced it, and now somebody else owns it, and they gave it to their son, who just turned 16 or whatever and got his driver's license. Whose car is it now? White kid said, it's still my mother's car. And so the Black kid said, okay, do you not see the parallel? If people came from wherever we came from, we don't even know, because they stole that information from us. Came from wherever we came from, had everything stolen, our language, our culture, our family, our clothes, our food, our music, all that stolen. Whose was it before it was stolen? It was ours.
Yes.
Okay, now it's been stolen. Is it still ours? If the car analogy works, it's still ours. So now here we are, centuries later. Is there some statute of limitations? Is that what it is? There's a statute of limitations because we're centuries past, right? Why should there be reparations or a leveling of the playing field, or what the Bible says? And I mean, I'm not a Bible person, but I'm just going to say, the sins of the fathers are visited upon the sons. That's why the sins of the fathers are visited upon the sons. When your ancestors do a certain thing, like steal a car or a person or a country, it's stolen. It doesn't mean they own it. It means they stole it. Who owns it? The original owners still own it. So should they not be compensated for it? And all of a sudden, the white kid, when this young Black kid explained it to him, he was like, oh, he couldn't even think of anything. He said, oh, because it suddenly made sense, because we're talking about cars and not human beings. Go figure.
Yeah, it relaxes the brain.
It relaxes the brain.
You could actually let it in.
Yeah.
But
it's 7:00.
I know. But I think there needs to be a new word to substitute for privilege there, because that sort of puts people's backs up, and you need an hour to explain what the thing. There's something I'd like to see.
I'm going to leave that to white people to figure out the word.
Yeah, there we go. I'll put the word out.
You think the word?
What's an alternative to white privilege that still contains?
Let's crowdsource it. Maybe they'll all figure it out. Because as a Black person, if people's backs are up, I just say, let your back be up then. Oh, well. Think about that. Why is your back up? But if white people would like to come up with a word that is more palatable,
not as much powerful as penetrative, to get in, like the car story got in. That just made me think in those terms.
Well, true. Yeah.
And we need allegories like that to wake people up from the long historical sleep. And this idea that, just to finish the point that you were just making before, that history was back then, and here we are detached from history. No.
That's right.
No. So somehow,
so
the stories are important.
It's important. And also, I always talk about one of the things that I find so special about Black people is that we are not a monolith, but we do have a collective consciousness. And I think that everybody should have a collective consciousness. And that includes people whose history is maybe less savory. Yeah. But that, it's still epigenetically, that should be a collective memory that you have.
Yes.
And when you do the right thing, you heal people forwards and backwards. You heal yourself.
That's so important. That should be another conversation. Make a note.
Absolutely. And you and I, we are scientists, right? We're metaphysicists. So for us, it makes sense, this backwards and forwards healing. This is partly why we read cards. You're reaching into the cosmos, into the energy field, And I think that if
everything that's gone up into that point, into that deck of cards and into your hand.
Exactly. So we'll talk about that another time. But listen, you all, time got away from us, as it always does when we're with you all. And thank you so much for listening, for your comments. We really appreciate it. And we will be back next week. Right, Lena?
See you then.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.